I'm Jessica.
Today we're going to be sharing our top 22 books of 2022, and to keep this short, we're mainly just going to say the title and a few reasons why we liked it. If any of them pique your interest, feel free to look them up on our blog or on Goodreads.
We've done reviews, I think, on most of these books.
I think so. So if you're like, is there anything you didn't like? Is there more reasons you liked it? What does this book contain? Is it appropriate? You can, again, look at our blog.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, we just do a little bit of everything, so we can't have too much overlap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotta make it a little easy on ourselves. Do you want me to start?
Sure.
My first book is Defy the Night by Bridget Kimmer. Kimmer. And I was under the impression this was a duology, and then I was watching Jesse the Reader's video today, and he acted like there was more.
Oh.
So I'm not totally sure if it's complete. I thought it was a duology. I could still be right. But the second book is Defend the Dawn, and I haven't read the second book yet. I know some people are a little skeptical, over second books, especially if they really like a first one. It can kind of let you down. But I am really excited to read it. It's a fantasy romance series. I did think it was pretty original. I didn't think it was very stereotypical. The girl wasn't like overly confident to where it seemed arrogant or anything, which I feel like is starting to get annoying. But all in all, I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a solid YA fantasy series if you need something to get you out of a slump.
Okay. The first book I'm going to talk about is Kingdom of Copper, which is book 2 in the Devabod trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. We're going to go with that. Sorry if that's not right. I tried. So this book picks up right where City of Brass left off. It is, literally book 1 ends, book 2 starts like the next day. So I really liked that. What I like about this series is the world building is unlike anything I've read before. It has a lot of Middle Eastern elements in it, which I thought were really cool. Some of the book takes place in Cairo, Egypt. And then just the magical system is really interesting. Her world building is solid, top tier, but not like so hard to understand that you lose interest. And every chapter is a different character's POV, which for me just makes the books go by really fast, even though they are pretty beefy in lengths. I didn't feel like it was just dragging on because of the continual shifting in the POVs. So definitely 5 stars for me. City of Brass was obviously 5 stars as well, and the second one did not disappoint.
Okay, my next book is actually 2 books. They're a part of a series, so I'm just gonna say them both. Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. I believe the third book is called A Curse for True Love, and she kind of did us wrong because she wouldn't say if it was a duology or a trilogy, and she didn't announce it until after the second book ended. So everyone thought that was how it ended. And I'm so relieved and so scared because of all the possibilities. But if you have read Caraval, I would recommend it. If you haven't, I would still recommend it. I would say if you haven't read Caraval and it piques your interest even a little bit, I would read it first because it is a spinoff and you will have Caraval completely spoiled just jumping into Once Upon a Broken Heart. But, all the hype, it deserves it. Like, everyone that reads it, I feel like, loves it. And it's well deserved in my opinion.
And you've heard about it so much that it's definitely one of the things I'm going to try to read next year.
I hope so.
Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about is also a series, so I'm just going to say all 3 of them in a row, and that is the Wild series by K.A. Tucker. So the first book is The Simple Wild, the second book is Wild at Heart, and then we have Forever Wild, which is a novella, and then we have another book that I haven't read in the series yet. It's from a kind of a different storyline. I haven't got to that one yet. But basically the reason that I picked up the Simple Wild series in the first place was because it took place in Alaska, and that just really intrigued me. but also the concept of the book that intrigued me also was kind of this relationship with a father and daughter that needed to be reconciled. So she goes to Alaska, tries to reconcile her relationship with her father because he just found out he's terminally ill, and so she's trying to kind of make up for lost time with her father, which I thought was like just really endearing. But then there's also this romance element that comes into play, which is definitely one of the like best and most realistic romance books that I've read. I loved learning about Alaska. I loved the side characters, just the lifestyle of the people that live in Alaska, kind of just how they have to prepare for living in such a rural part of the world, and just the lengths that they have to go to prepare was really interesting to me. The only thing I didn't like about this book, and I'll just put this out there if you're in the same boat as me, I do not like open door romance. I can never remember the right terminology,
Closed door
so I just have to
like
look at
you can't see. The door is shut in front of you.
Okay, that
It's
makes
really simple.
sense. It is, but I always get it backwards. I don't know why. Anyways, this book does have some open door themes. There's not a ton of them, so they are easy to skip over. That's the only thing I didn't like. Everything else I loved about this story. Like, I still think about it all the time. The characters, I just wish they were real and would love to be friends with a lot of them. So, the Wild series, K.A. Tucker, read it.
Okay, my next book is another fantasy romance, YA, and that is A Forgery of Roses. Can't remember the author's name right
Margaret.
now. No,
Yes.
it is not. It's Jessica something.
Oh, Owen.
I don't
That just seems right. Olsen. It's Olsen.
I think you're just guessing.
No,
but
I'm not.
Margaret,
I can picture
Jessica.
it in my mind. I was thinking Margaret Rogerson, or
That's a different.
that's a
person.
different book. It's Olsen. I know.
Okay.
I'm firm in my choice final answer.
Okay, I believe you. Anyways, this is a gothic, historical fiction, romance, mystery, thriller, touch of fantasy. If you don't like fantasy, I would still say read this book. There's just like a little bit of magic, but it's not like everyone can access it. It's not super complicated or anything, so it's super easy to understand, but it just adds an extra element to the mystery. I got this book as a digital ARC off of NetGalley, and I think it was one of the first books I ever got as an ARC, and I was like kind of scared I wouldn't like it because you're kind of stuck, but I read it so fast, and I really just need to buy it to own it because the cover is so pretty. I want to make everyone I know read it. The vibes were amazing. And she has another book called Seen Me Forgotten that's a gender bent Phantom of the Opera that I'm dying to read. So even if you...
Do we have that?
No, we need it. So, I mean, even if you like Phantom of the Opera, I would recommend A Forgery of Roses just because of the gothic vibes alone. It was so good.
I might take myself off of a book buying van to buy that one.
Of course you will. You go on a book by man every day, but
It's
whatever.
fine. It's fine. Shh. Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about is a classic. I'm sure you all know what it's about, and that is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Anne of Green Gables is like my childhood in a book. Not like I was her, but just I wasn't her.
You wanted to be.
I did. I wanted red hair when I was little because of her. I thought she was just like so original, so creative, so different, just like not, just not the status quo. And I love that about her, but I also love the Sullivan Entertainment movies. Like, I watched them so many times growing up. I can't even tell you. But I decided to reread this year because I ran across like a certain edition of them on Amazon that I thought were really beautiful. Emmalynn, maybe you can insert a picture somewhere. But I was like, I want to own these, and so if I'm going to buy them, I'm going to read them. So I did. I feel like I appreciated it on a whole new level rereading it as an adult. Her writing is just impeccable to me. I don't know. It's just so nostalgic for me that I fell in love with it all over again. I watched also Anne with an E right before I decided to reread this. That also made me love it even more. I don't know. If you're like not a huge fan of classics, I would say pick this one up and give it a try, because the adventure, her imagination, her way of describing things, it's just so fun and enjoyable. And if you need a lighthearted pick-me-up, I would say this is it.
Okay, my next book, not lighthearted, Where the Crawdads Sing by Julia Owens. I feel like there's no one that doesn't know what this book is about, but still, read it. I know it's controversial. I know it's like everyone loves it or they hate it. I loved it. I feel like also the movie is great because Reese Witherspoon was in charge of the adaptation, and I feel like everything that she adapts into a TV show or movie, or she's in it, that comes from a book.
Yeah.
It's just so well done, and it's so true to the original, and just I appreciate it so much. The scenery is beautiful. Even in the book, like just the way things are described. It was just,
it's such a vibe.
It's perfect.
It really is.
I can't recommend it enough. Every genre, every age could read it. I mean, not all the
And
kids,
if you're one
but
of those people too that are like, when things get hyped up, it makes you not want to read it even more. I feel like I can relate to that, because that's how I felt about this book too. But it does. It lives up to the hype for sure. Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about is the final book in the David Bond trilogy, and that is The Empire of Gold. I kind of like was hesitant to pick this book up because I almost didn't want this world to end, but I needed closure at the same time. Maybe you can relate to that. But this book blew me out of the water. And I think the reason that I loved it so much was there is this mythical, well, it's more than one. There are these mythical creatures that are introduced throughout the story, but they really come into play in this third one, and I just found it to be so fascinating. It just like really shapes the trajectory of the book and how it wraps up. It really affects one of the main characters. I still feel a little torn about the way this book ended, and I won't even go there because that might be a spoiler. But if you're hesitant to pick this third one up and you've read the other two, go ahead and read it. It will not disappoint you. You'll be totally into it and interested, and the mythical creature element will suck you in.
Okay, my next book is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I'm pretty sure I picked this up because of Haley Pham, or I don't know if I just like ended up reading it at the same time. I feel like it blew up and everyone I watched read it all at once. But this is a YA romance, and I don't know what it is about Lynn Painter's books, but just they feel like an early 2000s rom-com, and I love it. Like there's a soundtrack in the back, and at the beginning of every chapter there's a quote from a rom-com movie, and you're like, does this have to do with what's about to happen? You don't know. And I read her other book that's coming out, I believe in January or February. It's called A Do-Over. That's also a great one. Like she's so great as a YA author. I've never read any of her adult works. I've heard they're kind of iffy and hit or miss, but if you need something nostalgic feeling to read Better Than the Movies. Again, deserves the hype.
Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak, I think. I'm sure you guys have seen this. This came out this year. It was pretty like widely popular, I'll say, and I think a large reason it is so popular is because the author had this genius idea of inserting throughout the book these pictures that are part of the storyline, and the pictures are pictures of what this little boy that is the main character in the story are drawing. So This book is about a girl who's a nanny for a little boy. This little boy, when he has like quiet time every day, he goes and draws these really morbid pictures, and they get like more morbid as the storyline goes on. His parents just kind of brush them off as like, oh, he has an imaginary friend, no big deal. And then the girl that's a nanny is like, this is not normal, why are we not acknowledging this? But as the storyline progresses, the pictures really come into play. They reminded me a lot of some things that I had studied in college with just different like emotionally disturbed children, so that really piqued my interest. But this book was crazy the whole time. Like, there was not a like time where it was like, you know, trending downward and then it comes back up. I feel like it just like amped up the whole time, and the ending was crazy. Did not see it coming. And then the very, very ending, which like I guess is the epilogue, it like broke my heart. So many feels, hidden pictures.
Who would think you would be so broken about a book about a
horror.
Morbid little boy?
I know. But it was sad at the ending. But it was like good. A good sad, so there was like closure. Yeah.
Okay, my next book is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walser, I believe. And obviously very different from the book Bob just talked about. But this is, again, a YA romance. Please read this during the summer. Do not read it at any other time. You will regret it, okay? If you like Taylor Swift, think of every good Taylor Swift song in a book. Let that sink in, okay? There are so many also just references to Taylor Swift. I just want to like talk to the author and be like, what's your favorite album? But very brief synopsis, just a few of my favorite things about this book. This follows a girl who is going to Martha's Vineyard with her family for her cousin's wedding. And during before the wedding, I guess, they're all just staying there kind of to vacation the family wedding party. Like the main bridesmaids, the groomsmen, all those people. And so they decide to play this game called Assassin, and it's like a giant water war. And so they'll like draw names almost, and like they have to kill that person with their water gun. And it was so entertaining because there was all these serious things going on, but then all these people were trying to hide from these other people, but they didn't know who had their name. But it was also like there was very serious moments. Our main character had just lost her sister not that long ago, and there was a few people in our family she kind of blamed for it, so she had like grief and just, but then there was so many fun aspects and just great family relationships. It was a really good book. Again, deserves the hype in my opinion.
Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about, if I had to identify a standalone book that I read this year that was my favorite, it would be The Last House on Neela Street by Catriona Ward. Not sure. I even looked up her Instagram yesterday to try to figure out how to pronounce her first name. I don't know which it is. But this book was crazy. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, literally from the start, you're like, what is happening? But I need to know what is happening. So I'm going to keep reading. So there are multiple characters in the story, and each chapter is a different character's POV. So we have a man who lives alone. You can tell from the beginning something's not quite right with him mentally. Then you have his daughter, we'll say. His daughter who lives with him. She doesn't seem to be so happy with her life living with her dad. Then we have this cat who is a POV in this story consistently, who is religious and reads the Bible. And then we have a woman who is looking for answers about her sister's disappearance when they were children. So it just literally goes back and forth through all of these different POVs. from the start of the book, I would say I had a little bit of an inkling as to what I thought the overall premise of the story was going to be, and that was because I had just read a movie, which I will not name. I watched a movie that I will not name because it would kind of be a spoiler. But it reminded me of what was happening in this book. So I was like, I think I might know where this is going to go. No, I did not. I mean, I did, but I didn't. The ending was...
It surprised you so much you don't even remember what happened.
I do remember what happened. I don't know. I just don't even know how to put it into words. Like, wow. It was just, it's so weird. It's just so weird. But like, one of those that you think about all the time, like...
How did someone write this?
Yeah,
like,
that's, yes.
How do you come up with this?
Creativity into like thinking of the overall premise is like astonishing in itself, but like how she tied it all together, wrapped it all up at the end, made you feel sorry for each character in their own way. Like, I don't know. This book was so good. Like, I really want you to read it so we can talk about it. Can you do that for me? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
After you read the 5 Stephanie Garber books I want.
Yeah. Okay, it's a deal.
I've read lots of other things, you tell me.
That's true.
Okay, my next book is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I am an Adrienne Young stan, okay? Like, I don't know what it is that she puts in her books, but they just suck me in. And this was her debut adult novel. And I feel like some people say it was kind of cliche. I didn't really feel that way. I really liked it. It's set in like a fictional island off the like, I feel like it's maybe in the Puget Sound even, around that area. And there's just like lots of family drama. There's a mystery going on. There's some people that were kind of like shunned off the island because of this big mystery that happened. I really don't want to say anything because I went into this book with absolutely nothing just because I liked Adrienne Young and I didn't need to know anything else. And I got an arc of this book and just flipped out about it. So I would honestly say just don't read the synopsis. Like, if something with fantasy, with romance, with like a foggy Washington Island, some family heirlooms, a touch of witchy stuff, if any of that piques your interest, just read it. There's like an apple orchard, there's like a mystery that happens at said apple orchard, mystery that happens like at a lighthouse, there's like this cool little downtown area and it's always raining, and it's just, read it in the fall if you can. But I'll shut up about it now, but Spells for Forgetting, I wish it was a series.
Okay, the last book I'm going to talk about that's a standalone is, well, it's actually not a standalone. Scratch that. Okay, this specific book is called, it's a very long title, get ready, Sleigh Rides and Silver Bells at the Christmas Fair. This is actually book 5 in a series. I haven't read any of the other ones. The reason I wanted to read this one was because I think Desi talked about it a long time ago in one of her Christmas videos, and so I've had it like on my list for a while. But each book is a different is based on a different character, but they're all in the same town, so you don't have to read them in order. And I've had a hard time trying to find these. Like, our library has none by this author, which is Heidi Swain. And so I finally just ordered it off of Amazon. But the reason I love this book is because it is literally Downton Abbey set in modern times. Need I say more? Like, there is a large mansion called Winthorpe Hall that has a husband and wife as owners. They have staff who live with them, but they treat them like their own family. They eat dinner every night with them. And so there's like this huge found family element that's a major part of the story, which is what I loved most about it. But the setting was so perfect for Christmas time. You have this little village, which is called Windbridge, which is what this series is called, the Windbridge series. And it's like all the characters just are in this utopia world where they all love each other, support each other, like support each other's businesses, make sure like everyone has everything they need, they work together. It was so sweet and endearing, and I loved it, and I want to read the rest now and just pretend like it is Downton Abbey. Current day.
Sounds great to me.
Yeah, I know. Like, you had me at Downton Abbey, right? That's what you're thinking?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because I definitely don't know any of that before.
Yeah, I haven't told you anything. No. Okay.
My next book is Heir of Fire, which is the third book in the Throne of Glass series. And this book in particular is my favorite because I just feel like it just totally took off. Like the first two books are probably like this big. I don't know the page amount, but they're like this big. And Heir of Fire is like this big. Like the plot, we like are figuring out where this story is gonna go. You're like, okay, I can see it now. We just like curved around the road and now we see the end and we're scared, okay? We're scared. But like the romance in this book is great. I can't really say anything about that. It's kind of a spoiler for the first two books, but I don't know. I feel like people only have problems with the first two books, but if you push past those, get a feeling for the characters, this is where it becomes a serious fantasy book to me. Like Sarah J. Maas is like, okay, I'm taking your criticism, we're gonna do this. And I feel like I kind of regret it because she's hurting some people, but like there can't be a fantasy series where someone you love isn't hurt. But anyways, it's so good. If you're like, I'm tired of Sarah J. Maas, everyone only talks about ACOTAR, please just read this anyways. I know it's kind of older now and there's so many new things, but again, if it even piques your interest, just do it. It's so worth it. I'm glad I finally did.
Okay. Our final two books are the same.
Yeah.
And those final two books are the duology Dance of Thieves. Moment of silence for Dance of Thieves. Okay.
I don't even like know what to say.
I don't either.
Okay, Mom read this book first, and not even a month later, I read the series too. Normally it takes her a long time to convince me to read something because I'm more of a mood reader. Like, I'm not just going to read something because you say to. I got my own things I want to do.
My own thing going on.
I have other series I'm reading, but then it's just everyone was talking about this book, and it made me very curious, and I'm so glad I read it. Like, hands down, my favorite YA fantasy books of all time. Maybe just in my favorite books of all time.
Okay, let's talk about why we like this book. Okay, first of all, this duology takes enemies to lovers to a whole new level, because most little like kitschy romance books that are enemies to lovers, they're like not really enemies.
It's for
like
like
they're
a
not
day.
gonna slit each other's throats during the night and like, you know, take over their
But in this
family
book,
business or
in
whatever.
this book,
they will.
Like, up until the last book, you're like, are they really gonna?
Are they both gonna come out?
Are
of
we
this
sure
alive?
they're gonna be alive? And one, are you sure they're not going to unalive each other?
Unalive.
Like, I was scared reading this. I'm like, okay, things are going good. Oh no. Like, back and forth, which normally could make you a little annoyed, but I appreciate it from the enemies to lovers standpoint. Like, it wasn't like they were mad at each other for a day.
No.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
There was lots of betrayal, just...
And then, like, her posse of people, strong found family elements there. Her girls are like, we will fight for you. And then his family is like the Corleones of The Godfather. Like, they have this enterprise going on, and you're not really sure if they're good or bad, but it was like fascinating. I just don't even. Okay, so if you like found family, true enemies to lovers, like enemies to lovers, if you like some mafia vibes, like a strong foundational family, we'll say, fantasy, there's world building, it has everything.
Also, like, there were times that I was literally convinced this was an adult book. It's YA.
Yeah, the
like the world building
was great. It wasn't cheesy at all.
It wasn't like you felt like a middle school book, but you also didn't feel stupid. Like some adult fantasy books, I'm like, can you tone it down just a little bit?
Yeah, like I can't follow.
Like this is work. This is not enjoyable. I'm really having a hard time understanding this. But then you read some YA fantasy and you're like, this is just romance. You said fantasy? Like, what even is this magic system? This is like everything. It's the perfect balance. I can't talk about it enough. I want to read everything she's written now.
We're gonna go in the backlog.
Yeah,
but we're ordering the British covers, not the American ones, because they're not it. But the Morgan book is beautiful. That just came out a few weeks ago. We need to read that as well. Like, I will forever read anything she writes. Like, if she wants to just keep busting them out, I will buy them every time. I don't even care what it's about. I don't. I'll read it.
That was kind of rude.
That was so rude.
You even asked. Do they
didn't get
live on post now?
They didn't get a flyover permission to fly over our house. Excuse me. Anyways, easily, like, if I had to say the best book I've read of this year, I don't know that I could pick between the two of those, but it would definitely be one of them. Can you separate them into one? I don't feel like I think I would say the second one, and you would probably say the first.
The second one was happier. But the first one, something about the vibes just were better for me. I don't know if it was like the setting I just jived with more. And also they were just, I can't really say anything, but they were just around each other more in the first one.
That's true. But the second one was like bam, 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 bam. Action, I think, like from start to finish.
I think if it was adult, it would have easily been one book.
Yeah, a very lengthy boy.
It all just went together. It was just, yeah, I just can't.
Anyways, we've raved enough about Dance of Thieves, Vow of Thieves. If you read anything, if you read one thing from these suggestions, just please, okay, you can't separate them, you have to read both. Just go do that. Do that for us and let us know. We'd love to chat with someone else about it.
We're just gonna like promote everything for her. Yeah. I'll be on her like PR team. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Anyways, that was our 22 books that we enjoyed the most of this year. Hopefully you had a couple to add to your TBR for next year maybe. And yeah, that's it. If you like this, I almost said if you like this book. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe, no pressure. And we will see you in our next video.
Haley fan moment.